The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Hey everybody, it's Bryan McDonald with Seize Your Business podcast, and I'm with onPurpose Growth. And today I have Rick Graffania of Senior Solutions, and today we're going to talk about some of the misunderstandings and misconceptions about the senior living market, because Rick actually works with a lot of small business owners, a lot of busy executives, because they reach a point in their lives where mom and or dad get sick and they need help moving into that space. So Rick, thanks for being on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate it, Brian. That's great to be here. So the name of the business, Senior Solutions.
Perfect.
We are the core of our business is in senior housing placement and referrals. And so I kind of like to say that we're kind of like a matchmaker.
Okay.
So depending on the circumstances, with the adult parents, maybe it's, there's a level of care need at place. We look at the geographic preferences that they have. Maybe there's some lifestyle issues that need to be addressed. And then the budget,
Yep.
what's the financial scenario look like? And so we try to then match, the options and the communities that are out there to the situation as it exists today.
Because it sounds like there's a lot of options that are out there, right? And that's where we're kind of talking about the misunderstandings of what those are.
Absolutely. Some of those, I think a lot of times people just don't know what those options look like because they've never been faced with a situation of having to deal with it.
Yep.
And so I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
right?
please.
So it's not untypical for me to get a phone call and, maybe it's the adult daughter. And they say, hey, we just left Dad's doctor's appointment, and the doctor said, Dad needs 24/7 nursing home care. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so I'll ask a couple questions and find out that Dad does need some help, but basically he needs help with some shower assist and maybe some reminders for medication. Well, that's greatly lower than a full 24/7 nursing home care. Perhaps it's an assisted living type of a situation with some care. And so across the main street, across the spectrum of senior housing, you've got independent living.
Okay.
You've got independent living with services. You've got assisted living. You've got memory care, and then there's a great program in Illinois called supportive living. Okay. And so I can give you quick primer on what those differences are.
Yeah, please, perfectly.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So independent living is essentially, and I'm really going to be Reader's Digesting this thing down, but so independent living is senior has their own apartment. There's a meal plan. They have a base rent that takes care of the meals, utilities, housekeeping, maintenance, maybe laundry. There's local transportation. They're independent. They can come and go as they please. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's independent living.
Got it.
Independent living with services may be something where maybe things are starting to change. And so a term that gets used a lot is called activities of daily living, or ADLs. All right. And so ADLs are things that you and I take for granted right now.
Yeah.
Bathing, dressing, grooming, taking care of our personal toileting needs, remembering when to take our medication, things of that nature. Yeah. So as life starts changing for people in independent living, depending on what those items are, maybe they can bring some help in, and so they can stay in their independent living apartment. Maybe it's just a matter of somebody being there for a shower assist to make sure Dad steps in and out of the shower safely. Okay. So the next level of care above that is what we call assisted living.
Got
it. And so assisted living is typically your own apartment. Again, it could be a studio, it could be a one-bedroom apartment. You have a base rent, which pays for 3 meals a day. You get utilities and your cable and your maintenance and your laundry, and all of that is kind of baked into that base rent, if you will.
Okay.
All right. One of the biggest differences between assisted living and independent living is assisted living is true 24/7 care.
Got it.
Okay. So in independent living, if that help can be kind of scheduled, so like when someone's going to need help getting dressed, or maybe when someone needs help taking a shower. But in assisted living, maybe you never quite know what the totality of the needs are going to be and when that need is going to be.
Yeah, when it needs to happen.
And so there's like 2 cost components. There's the cost for the base rent, which is kind of a function of the size of the apartment that you've got. And then there's the cost of care, which, so they'll put a specific care plan together for somebody so that it will reflect the total, what somebody needs, what kind of help and support someone needs to get through the day safely.
Got it. Okay.
And so, going back to like the independent living, it could be a studio, it could be a 1-bedroom, it could be a 2-bedroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can, you can have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a den, depending on the community.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
every community offers all of that, and then obviously the rent's going to be a function of that. So sometimes there's cognitive issues at play.
Okay.
Right, and so there may be a formal dementia diagnosis, and now somebody maybe needs what we call a memory care solution.
And that's that. And are we moving past assisted living into something?
Well,
more
it's still
severe?
licensed as assisted living,
Oh,
but
it
it's
is.
more specialized care.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so an assisted memory care solution could be a separate standalone building, or it could be a part of an assisted living community that also offers some memory care solutions.
I got it.
And so there, the oversight is a little bit, there's more care. The activities that are offered are geared more towards people that are dealing with cognitive deficits, so that they can feel good about themselves in terms of what they're participating with. They're secured, because sometimes, one of the issues with someone with dementia is they're exit seeking or they're wander risk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to kind of keep them. It's not like a total lockdown. It doesn't feel like that.
Contained, if you will.
But they just can't just walk out the front door.
Right.
And similar to the other levels, more often than not, it's a studio, but they have their own apartment. They can bring their own furniture in.
Really?
And so they can make it really feel like home, if you will. And so they're more comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Is there anything after kind of?
Well,
that,
and then the other piece is what we call supportive living, which is a specialized program in the state of Illinois. It's senior housing. It's assisted living, like in terms of they can help with the ADLs or activities of daily living. But the beauty of it is for those people that don't have the financial wherewithal to pay for the other type of things that we had talked about, there's a path to public aid or Medicaid. And so that they can stay, if they've exhausted their funds and they've gone through the processes of applying for Medicaid, they can stay there. And so that really works out, because the other options that we talked about up until this point are really private pay. So there's really no, you don't get assistance from Medicare or Medicaid, to be able to stay in live in those kind of environments.
Okay. So it sounds like there's a lot of choices, but then also when you started off, it sounds like there's a lot of potholes that are presented, because I think the story you told was the doctor said you need 24/7 care, and that really wasn't the case.
Well, and it not only the 24/7 care, but the term nursing home, because sometimes the term nursing home is used kind of as an umbrella term, and for a senior, if you think about it, Brian, for them, they may not be familiar with assisted living, and so when they hear nursing home, they think in terms of somewhere that maybe their parents or their grandparents went to at the end of their life, and there was really somewhere to go to pass away. Whereas independent living and assisted living and these other options really are to continue your life, to be living in a more safe environment, but still be able to do a lot of things that you want to do. I mean, one of the things sometimes is kind of humorous that I get asked is, one of the adult kids will say, "Well, Mom really likes to have a glass of wine once in a while."
Okay.
Well, you know what? As long as it's medically okay, Mom can continue having a glass of wine.
Exactly.
Because it's her home.
Exactly.
And so that's part of the heart. It's sometimes difficult to get their head wrapped around the fact that this is just somewhere different that they're going to live.
Well, that comment leads me to go back to that there are a lot of misconceptions about how things work, how different facilities work and whatnot.
Right.
Would I be right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so quite honestly, most of my initial conversations are all education. Okay, It's help, because unfortunately, when people reach out to me, there's usually a level of crisis going on. There's some significant event that took place, and now maybe they're thinking that, Mom can't go home from where she's at, or maybe she's in rehab. There's a fall, and now she's in rehab recovering, but now she may not be suitable to go back home again. Or maybe she's going to get home, but now maybe she needs an in-home caregiver to come in and help with that. And the good news for my clients and the families that I work with is that my services are free. You
Okay.
know, so there's no cost to them for me to help them. And so, no, I'm not independently wealthy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing this for a purpose. I really love what I do, but you know, I do need the compensation. And so my compensation comes from a referral basis. You know,
Okay.
so when I work with a community, which is really the vast majority of them in the Chicago area, they compensate me for connecting them with a family.
Got it. So, you know, something you said here around, you know, basically creating fires, or for, you know, like it's a spur of the moment where they need to place somebody, realizing that a lot of our listeners are busy professionals or busy business owners. Or is there anything that they can do to hedge against that, to prepare some way that you help?
Well, you know, I think that's a great question, because a lot of times, you know, people see things are starting to change.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe that move isn't going to be imminent, but in the back of their minds, they know that it's somewhere down the road. There's absolutely no reason not to connect with somebody like myself.
Okay.
For me to understand what they might be looking for, and then based off of the things we talked about before, you know, level of care and geography and budget and things of that nature, maybe we set up a couple of tours to go visit some properties. You
Really?
know, and I call it the kick in the tire type of a tour. You
Okay.
know, there's no commitment. You know, there may not even be a window, a defined window of when something may happen, but maybe the adult kids maybe want to just do the homework ahead of time. You know, say, okay, if something were to occur, we're now more prepared than we were before. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I
It happens all the time.
Yeah, it's I mean, do you see a lot of I don't want to say disasters, but chaos when people have to figure out things really fast?
Yeah, I call it family dynamics.
Yeah. I like that.
And but it's true, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, mom's had some dementia. Mom's been dealing with some dementia and some cognitive deficits, and then maybe all of a sudden there's just some episode that occurs,
Yeah.
and now we really have to do something with mom in the short term. You know, I've had phone calls where, you know, 3 days later somebody was moving into a senior housing property. I've had phone calls where 3 years later
Really?
Yeah, I mean, so the for me personally in this business, I take a patience pill every day because there's because you just, it's healthcare, you know.
Yeah.
And people it's emotional, and it's adult type of decisions that
Yep.
need to be made, and sometimes people move really quickly down that path, and sometimes other people for whatever reason may be a little bit more, you know, patient
Yeah.
in terms of moving forward.
So are there any other concerns outside of where somebody needs to go that your clients run into when dealt with these situations?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of times people, you know, think in terms of, well, what are we going to, you know, things like, well, how are we going to pay for it? You know, a lot of people aren't aware that if mom or dad is a veteran, there may be some veterans benefits that apply.
Oh, really?
You know, to help pay for this type of housing, and I can help with that. Excuse me. Sometimes they worry about, you know, all the stuff. You know, mom and dad have been living in the same house for 55 years, and what do we do with all of that? And so I've got resources to help deal with all of the physical items, you know. So we kind of, what you want to do is try to remove some of the obstacles.
Yeah.
In terms of, if really getting from point A to point B is important, what are the bumps in the road that maybe are keeping people from moving forward? You know, whether it's that or real estate guidance, or sometimes there's legal issues at hand. So I work with a battery of elder law attorneys that can help with basics like power of attorney. Be surprised how many times that's not in place for the parents, and maybe there's some Medicaid planning or some estate planning that needs to take place in order to prepare for the move. So that you just don't, you know, I like to say that every situation is the same and different at the same time.
Yes,
you know,
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
So you know, for me, that means having to be a good listener, you
Yep.
know, and capture some real copious notes, and just make sure I get a feel for what's really important, you know, for somebody. You know, sometimes most important thing is mom's cat has to come with her,
right.
no matter where. But that's important.
But it's important, right? It's
you know,
important.
to her, to mom, that
Yeah.
may be the most important thing
Yeah.
to take place.
Well, awesome. Well, it sounds like you really understand the process, whether it's choosing a facility or just the overall process and all the dynamics that are involved. So I appreciate you taking the time to
Yep.
share, and for all the busy professionals and the business owners, I'm sure this information was great, because if they're reaching that point in life where mom and or dad is eventually going to go into something like that, you sound like a really, really good resource for that.
Thank you. We've been doing this since 2012, so I think we know a lot at this point, and
Awesome.
we're happy to help no matter what.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your
Yeah,
time, Rick.
thanks a lot, Brian.
And if you guys want to learn more and talk to Rick, his information is going to be shared across the podcast or wherever at the end of this podcast or wherever it's been posted, and you can reach out to him directly. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.